songwriter once told me some advice that he picked up from a mentor. He said, in life, you need people who will be like gasoline and guardrails, people who will fuel you along the way, encourage you, and those who will help you stay on track. Now, while that metaphor was originally about people to help you on the journey of life, I think we could use that for a lot of things, like operating a motor vehicle. Or today, we'll talk about how we could use that in creative work. Now, how do you know if you do creative work? Well, if you imagine something and then produce it, that's creative work. Now, this could be a video, it could be a painting, it could be a strategic plan, it could even be an email. But if you imagine it and then you produce it, it's creative work. And as creatives, I don't think we struggle so much with the gasoline part of the metaphor. We have the drive or the desire to keep producing excellent work. What we struggle with are the boundaries, and we perceive those to be restrictions to our work. We think that they're going to stifle our creativity and keep us from producing excellent work. But I believe if we embrace those guardrails, we'll create focused work, impressive work, and satisfying work. Picasso said, art is the elimination of the unnecessary. Wouldn't it have been awesome if Van Gogh had said this instead? The whole the year thing. Anyway, to Picasso's point, though, it landed. To Picasso's point, when we eliminate things that aren't necessary to our work, it actually helps us pour our energy only into what our work needs. We can then pour all of our resources and ideas into what will drive our work forward. When we're unfocused, it doesn't help us get to our destination, but when we focus only on what we need, that has a bigger impact to our work. It's also very impressive, and one of my favorite examples of this is the television show Seinfeld and their episode, The Contest. Right? They made it past network censors on air with an entire episode about a taboo subject, and they never once said the name of the subject. Instead, they used a catchphrase, master of my domain. It was the show's first catchphrase. It actually helped Seinfeld win its first Emmy. Now, was that very restrictive? Yeah. Was it impressive? Absolutely. When you do more with less, it produces impressive work. It also produces satisfying work. Now, in his book, The Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less, psychologist Barry Schwartz illustrates that consumers who have fewer choices actually have more satisfaction with their decisions. The illustration he uses is an ice cream shop, actually two of them. One has 3 flavors to choose from, and the other has more than 30. Consumers who shopped at the store with only 3 flavors were actually more satisfied with what they chose than those who had multiple choices in front of them. Now, how does this help us with creative work? Well, when we limit our options and we make better decisions and fewer decisions, it actually helps us create more satisfying work. How do we get there? Well, it begins by defining our destination. Have you ever wondered how a mentalist gets everyone in a room to think about a gray elephant from Denmark? It begins by asking the right questions, and he starts by saying, pick a number between 1 and 10, and then leads you on a series of math problems with that number. And here's the catch. No matter what number you choose, the solution is always 4. He then gets you to do a couple other things like turn 4 into a number, which is D, and then in just a couple of minutes, almost everyone in the room is thinking about a gray elephant from Denmark. Now, when you ask the right questions, it doesn't mean that you're going to get cookie-cutter results every time, but it does mean you'll have some consistency in your process. You define your destination, but you still choose how you're going to get there. So how do we do that? What questions do we ask? Well, there's a lot of project planning resources out there that can help you with this. I want to share a few questions with you today. First of all, who is the audience? Who is it for? What is the desired impact? And have we done this before? And if we did, how did it go? There's some other questions I want to give you that I found to be very important in my own work. First of all, what are the unintended consequences? In other words, how could someone take this the wrong way? Now, you can brainstorm ways that people can misperceive your work and help you avoid doing that. Better than that, get some trusted friends or colleagues to take a look at your work before you have the final version. Then you can pinpoint any trouble spots along the way and avoid those. Is it in character? And this is for both you and the client that you're creating the work for. If something is not in your character, it's best just to not do it. Now, the marketing team where I work, they have this value that they won't put down the competition in their advertising. So if an agency or an idea comes up that does that, it's an immediate hard pass because it's not their character. It's okay to say no. Finally, what skills do I have in my toolbox that can help me get there. Drawing on your past experiences can help you make that journey a lot easier, because you can take those skills that you've used before and use those on this task. And there's nothing wrong with learning a new skill along the way. Sometimes that gives you a little bit of added pressure and a little bit more fuel to get you to where you're going, and then you can use that skill on your next project. Now, when you do this, you've embraced those guardrails and you've identified what they are. Knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe said that. If you were an 80s kid growing up, you knew that already. But seriously, your work is important and it has value. And you can make it uniquely you by embracing the guardrails. And when you do that, I hope that it leads you down a path that will keep you on track and fuel you on to create focused, impressive, and satisfying work. Safe travels.